All right, so really excited to be joined by the Zingas sisters, of course, Doc with me as well. And this is the first time that we have had multiple athletes with us and multiple athletes actually within the same family. So this is a really exciting thing on the Rising Champions podcast. And I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask, just based on how I grew up. I have two brothers, and I know how competitive things would get in my household growing up. But you can both answer at the same time, or if you want to do it separately, or one can maybe jump in. Who's the more competitive person amongst you two?
Me.
Yes.
For sure. Emmy, I'm more competitive. Everything. It's like everything in our family. We're both, like, our entire family is very competitive, but I think just being the youngest child, I've always had something to prove. So I always have to be more competitive.
You always wanted to beat the older sibling, right? That's kind of what it is?
And
Fantastic.
I did start off in figure skating. I'm a hockey player. And thank you for having us. We're so excited to be on the podcast and talk to you guys. But actually, it's funny. I started off as a figure skater. We were both figure skating together. And I heard Emmy's, both our coach actually one day say to Emmy, like, you better keep working or your older sister's going to catch up to you. And I was, like, so appalled because I thought I was as good as Emmy until I was like, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
So she was a lot better than me at a young age. So definitely, and I think figure skating kind of fits Emmy's personality and hockey, more team sport. Yeah. So.
Now, was there a certain point, I guess, as you guys were growing up where it became obvious, like you said, that one was better at, the other thing, and then, somebody else is going to veer off and go more, stay with the hockey? Was there a certain point where you talked about it, or it was just like, okay, it's very obvious?
I think that Emmy has always just had a passion for figure skating. And then I kind of just always loved hockey. I guess.
And when we were really little, like, as she said, we both figure skated and we both played hockey. And I would, like, be so eager to go to figure skating practice, and I would make a huge fit when I had to go to hockey, and it was the opposite for her. So my parents were kind of like, pick your sports.
Yeah. So it's been an honor and a pleasure, Kyle, to work with both these young women. They're incredibly skilled and talented and hardworking. And I've known Emmy now, we're just chatting for almost 4 years. And I'm just going to start with Emmy real quick, and Elena will jump in and we'll talk with both of you guys. But Emmy, remind us, how we got together, why we got together, and kind of where we're at now.
So about 4 years ago, I think it might have been a little bit longer than 4 years, but
okay.
I was really struggling with the mental aspect of figure skating. Obviously, it's an individual sport, so everything is on you. You're responsible for everything that you do and what you bring to the rink every day and what you bring to competition. And you don't really have anyone else to lean on. And I think I was struggling with not only focusing in practice, but also in competition. And people are like, how do you need to focus that much? It's such a short amount of time that you're on the ice. But really, that is the most important thing that as a figure skater you have to do, is keep your focus through that period and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. So the first thing we worked on was concentration. And after 4 years of working on it, I think I have gotten a lot better with focusing, and it really has helped me in every aspect of my life. But yeah, so that's the first thing that I went to you for.
Yeah. So Kyle, what we did is I think one of the things Emmy had trouble focusing on was remembering certain aspects of the jumps and things like that. We called it popping jumps. That's the vernacular in figure skating that I learned as we went through this. And we created something called performance statements. And so Emmy and I would sit down together and we would really break down what are the certain thoughts or feelings that she needs to remember as she's approaching each one of these very amazing jumps that she does, very dangerous and very amazing jumps. So maybe Emmy, you can tell us a little bit about that and how that helped you stay focused.
Yeah, so when I came to him, I was just starting to work on triple jumps, which is a big hump in figure skating, like in any figure skater's career, because they get so much more challenging physically, but also the mental aspect of it, knowing how much more dangerous it is and knowing what's at risk when you go into one of these jumps. So my mind would really wander as I'm going into these jumps, like, oh my gosh, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? And we worked on finding keywords that helped me just, as I was doing the jump and going into the jump, just know exactly where my body would be. And having that in my head really helped me get over the fear of doing it and also find confidence while doing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting because, you know, and I don't know how many people know this, or how many people would actually care, but my parents thought I might be a hockey player when I was younger. And what's the first thing you got to do if you want to become a hockey player? You got to be able to skate, right? So I, of course, went through figure skating lessons, and I was tormented as a young little boy, unfortunately, because I did that. But I never materialized as a hockey player either. But I find it fascinating because I grew up on Brian Boitano, Nancy Kerrigan, Tara Lipinski, Michelle Kwan, I believe, as well. You know, all these fantastic figure skaters. And I always marveled at going up in the air and the mentality of how many times did they fall on their butt, you know, or how many times did they get hurt? And how do you get over that essentially as you're going up, having the courage to go up, be up in the air, and be able to have confidence in landing it? I always marvel at that. Did you struggle with that?
Yeah, so when you're learning those triple jumps, as I said before, it's really scary, but it's also almost like a mental block. So a lot of times skaters will have one bad fall or, you know, a few bad days where they fall so hard so many times in a row, and your coaches will say, do it again, do it again, do it again, because it's all about repetition and getting, like, practicing and practicing and practicing until you get it 100% right and 100% smooth and easy looking, because that's a big part of figure skating as well, is having it look like easy and flawless. So I really did struggle with that, and getting the courage to just trust my body and my mind to be able to complete those jumps. And obviously Dr. Novetsky helped me a lot with the performance statements, and those were really, really helpful in the development of getting those new jumps.
Now, I guess I don't have to be the one to tell you, sorry to jump in there, Doc, but, you know, these two sports are incredibly different. So, Elena, your background being figure skating, graceful and flowing and all of that, what was the transition like going full board? Now you're a college hockey player, because, I mean, you go from being that to being, you know, it's a much more physical game and a physical sport.
Yes. So I actually switched over when I was relatively young. A lot of kids these days like start playing hockey when they're like 3 years old, but I think I was around 9, 8 years old. And I was never gracious, so that's one of the big reasons I actually switched over to hockey. But I think that growing up playing hockey, one of my biggest critiques and something I've always had to work on is my strength and being physical. So I guess that was kind of a hurdle, and I still am working on it today, and I probably won't the rest of my hockey career stop focusing on that as a big aspect of my game. But yeah, I guess I made the switch kind of young, so it wasn't too difficult.
Yeah. So Elena, you know, with that in mind, you had to come over a lot of injuries as well. So we spent a lot of time dealing with recovery from injuries and building back up your confidence. Maybe you can let our audience know a little bit about how you did that. I mean, it's such a grind to get over those things.
Yeah, so I actually came to Dr. Novetsky when I was a junior in high school, and I had just dislocated my shoulder. And hockey's always been a space for me, like my closest friends, my best memories, and like growing up playing travel hockey, as most athletes know, it takes like every weekend, hockey practices every night, always go, go, go. And I've loved hockey like my whole life. So summer going into junior year, which was like I had luckily already committed to go to school, but I dislocated my shoulder, and it was like, okay, you need to take 6 months at least off the ice.
Wow.
That was hard for me because it was the very beginning of my season, so basically I was going to take the whole junior year off hockey. So that was a lot mentally, especially having your life revolve around something like that. So then I came in and I realized that I have learned that you cannot say, why did this happen to me? Look at everyone else. Oh my gosh, everyone. I was doing that a lot, and it was really negative, and it was actually affecting like how quickly I think I was recovering. And so then fast forward, cut to, I actually re-dislocated my shoulder at the end of my senior year of high school. So not long after. It was about a year and a couple months later. And so after rehabbing and everything, but my attitude was completely different, and I was ready. I had the surgery and I was ready to attack it. And I felt that I was able to come back a lot stronger mentally. And Dr. Novetsky helped me a lot with understanding the power and just controlling the controllables and focusing on what you can work on in the moment.
What was the biggest transition? You hear from high school athletes, college athletes, onto the, even the professional level of the growth, and the difference in level that it takes to be able to perform, at your highest peak. Going from high school, that level into, the college atmosphere, what was the biggest, was there like one moment in practice where it's like, okay, this is a little bit different than high school, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, from the first practice, you're like, wow. And just like the speed of the game. But beyond that, I think it's more just the attitude that shocked me the most. It's like when I was growing up playing travel hockey, it's like, oh, I'm so sore today. And like, I don't know, just little comments like, oh, why are we doing conditioning? Why are we doing cardio? And you just can't get away with any of that in college. It's like, if someone says they're sore, like one of my upperclassmen would be like, we're all sore. It's great. Like, you don't say, I wonder if we're skating today. I wonder if we're skating at the end of the practice. Like, comments like that and the team culture that I think is cultivated at Cornell was just, it was so nice to go into. And once I was there, I realized how much I loved it. It makes you love the sport so much more when everyone around you is just so focused and happy to be there.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Emmy, could you maybe give us a little chronology of your skating path? Because, after you switched over to figure skating and you got involved with some really great coaches and you've been at the same rink a long time, I want to make sure we give them some credit for your development as well.
Yeah, so I'm super thankful for my coaches. I've been working with them since I started figure skating when I was like 5, 6 years old. And I started competing when I was around 7. And I originally was a lefty, and they said, you're not going to be a lefty because you're too good at skating and your jumps are awkward. So they switched me to righty, and they were dedicated to my skating career and every other girl that was there from the beginning. Like, no matter who you were or where you come from or anything, they're like, we're so dedicated to becoming, like, making you the best you can be. So I've been working with them. Their names are Brooke O'Keefe and Lindsay O'Donoghue, and I skate at St. Clair Shores Civic Arena, which is a relatively small club for high-level figure skating. So we only have about 10, 15 girls that actually do competitive figure skating. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, just not like constantly being surrounded by people that are competitive. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I've loved every minute of being at St. Clair Shores and having that kind of loving but also motivating environment, just having people look up to me as I've gotten older and then having people to look up to when I was young.
So I guess starting early on, in your career, you were obviously involved in more of the team aspect, and you kind of already, touched on it a little bit. With figure skating, it's all on you. If you do well, that you can give yourself all the credit in the world, and of course some of your coaches and doctor, as well. But going from a team atmosphere to that, do you prefer it? Do you think that you learned something, I guess, working as a part of a team before, and now that you're basically just on your own?
Yeah, so I've played multiple team sports. My parents put us in a lot of sports just as kids. Like, I played soccer, and then I also played lacrosse in high school for a year. So I've had the privilege to experience both team and individual sports. For me personally, I struggled a lot, and especially when I first started to see Dr. Novetsky, not only taking credit for my success, but also for my failures. And I think overall, as a person, I've benefited from having that cutthroat type of individual environment, because it's helped me learn how to take responsibility for my actions in the way that I work. And I love it now. I struggled with it for a long time, but I do love it now. And I'm happy that I chose figure skating.
So, Elena, talk to me a little bit about how you guys push each other.
Yeah, well, Emmy pushes me a lot. So since we were young, Emmy's been so, I don't know, just maybe a little more athletic, I would say. But especially during this period, we realized it a lot, just being home, coming home from school, and not being able to go to the gym, not being able to go to the rink, which everyone obviously was going through. But I'm so thankful to have Emmy. I mean, we set up almost like a routine and schedule every day, and it would be like, okay, what are we doing today? So let's switch it up. Let's go on a long bike ride. Let's do rollerblade sprints. Let's do something outside. Let's do something in the basement. And always having like someone that is constantly motivated and loves it around you has helped us in our entire life. And
I could definitely agree.
I don't know. I feel like we also, I mean, we have started getting back to our routine. We want the best for each other, and having that, I mean, especially in even teams environments, and I mean, being a competitive environment, you're always going to have that, oh, who's on the best, whatever, and having our own thing, but also wanting the best for each other and knowing our struggles and what we've gone through. I feel like it really helps each other.
Yeah. I mean, you talked a lot about your own thing.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that and where that came from.
So when, obviously we have 2 older siblings as well, and they have their passions of their own. And I always say, well, figure skating's my thing, because I found that passion at a young age, which so thankful that I found that at a young age, and I was able to pursue it with everything that I have, and with my sister by my side pushing me too. And hockey's Elanas, I would say hockey's Elanas thing, and figure skating's my thing, because it's so different. But then again, we both have a passion that we're privileged to pursue. So it's kind of, we do it together, but it's so separate that it's kind of nice, because I don't have to feel as competitive like against her. It's more like competitiveness with each other. Like,
so it's that healthy competition that we're always looking for, even within the family. So Elana, you mentioned like the schedules and you know, keeping each other on track. And I know, Emmy, that's something you and I worked on a lot. So I think that'd be really interesting for the people that are listening to hear how we utilize schedules to keep you organized, to keep you on a nice routine, and to keep you focused.
Yeah, so I personally find comfort in structure. So when I go to a competition, I map out my schedule of the entire day almost to the minute, like when I'm going to wake up, when I'm going to leave the rink, or when I'm going to leave the hotel, when I'm going to get to the rink, what time I'm going to put my skates on, what time I'm going to start warming up, what time I'm going to get off practice ice. Everything is mapped out. And sticking to that kind of schedule releases some of like the nerves and the tension that you're feeling, and it allows you to just focus on what you need to do to perform your best, rather than worrying about, oh, what am I going to eat at this point in the day, or oh, I'm going to be late, or oh, I'm early, or I have too much time here, too little time here. So having that stress be lifted off of you is something I've really found helpful in all of my competitions, and also in practice. I do it like I have a schedule for each week or each day when I practice as well.
Now, Elana, I see you smirking a little bit. Do you kind of view it the same way, or are you a little?
I just
play it a little loosey goosey.
Where it's like down to the minute, because I remember like tournaments, my parents would wake me up from like a nap in between games, and I'd be like running to the rink like a half hour early, like not as routine. But I definitely learned the power in having a structure to your day and routine, especially because I took a gap year after graduating senior year. And so I took the year and played for my travel team before going to play hockey at Cornell. And that's where I really learned I am so much more efficient when I actually physically write it down, stick to a plan of the day. And I think that definitely helped us a lot over this period, because instead of waking up at like my first week home, I woke up at like noon and like rolled out of bed and was like, oh, should I eat breakfast or should I work out, or should I have lunch? Like I was
we
lost.
Didn't know. So
and then we took a step back and started waking up at like 8, getting our workout in, getting our schoolwork done, taking another outside walk, bike ride, and it helped so much.
Yeah, and I think schedules make you like hold you accountable for stuff. Exactly. So like when you have that scheduled, you're like, I have to do that. You can't. It's on my schedule. I gotta get it done. Like you can't skip it. So it helped and we held each other accountable.
It takes the guesswork out of everything and helps, I think, an athlete feel more comfortable because they're in a nice schedule, they're in a nice routine. And that was something that Emmy definitely, thrived in, is having that. I mean, we would spend sometimes a whole session just mapping out her competition schedule and what it was going to be, but it was worth the time. There's no doubt about it. So girls, a lot of the things we worked on were things like breathing, relaxation drills, concentration drills, and one big topic was visualization. And we kind of put that all together and created what we called mental workouts. So often athletes, Kyle, just physically work out, but they need to mentally work out as well. So maybe both of you can kind of touch on how we developed and what worked for you in terms of the mental training workouts.
So for me, I started doing my mental workout probably 4 years ago when I started working with Dr. Novetsky. And I've seen a huge difference in every aspect of my life. And my mental workout consists of probably a 15 to 20 minute period, which it seems like a lot of time, but when you set that time aside in your day, it's really not that much. And it helps me so much throughout my entire day. So what I do personally is I do visualization with my program music, and without my program music, I recite my identity statements, and I do concentration drills and like practice visualizing certain jumps and that kind of stuff. And visualization has helped me because when you ask people, oh, how much of the game is mental, they might say 60-70%, but how much are you practicing your mental game? 0. And you're practicing your physical game, hours and hours on end in the day. So having that kind of balance really has helped me.
Yeah, I'll kind of take a different approach to this. I think that the other mental side of it that I have had to work on a lot is just having confidence in myself. I think a big part is being decisive in hockey and not hesitating. And I've struggled with that, and I've struggled with, I'm not good enough, whatever, coming off the ice, beating myself up, being like, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? Being in my head. So especially making the transition to college, I mentally had to just realize, you just have to work on the next thing. And I think my mental strength, especially after my shoulder surgeries, improved a lot. And I would definitely recommend everyone reading the book Mind Gym. My coach has us read a book every summer, like going in, and my coach does not micromanage us at all, but he definitely prepares us while having a blue head, which means don't get too high, don't get too low. And I think that has just helped me a lot, especially in everything I did in college, a big test, a big thing, running around campus, trying to get all my work done. So, yeah. So,
Elena, we have to hear the story of your first collegiate goal.
Okay, yeah. So it was very end of the game. It wasn't a nail biter, but I was got on the ice with 2 of my freshmen, or my sophomore friend and my freshman friend, and it was like 40 seconds left in the game. And I don't know, I actually had a feeling I was going to get a goal this game, so I was like waiting in front of the net, and my friend Izzy Daniels shot it, and I hit it off my stick, and then I hit it back in again. But it was really exciting because Lino Rink has like so many fans compared to any other atmosphere you will see in like NCAA women's hockey. And it was that night, I don't know why, like the band was there and everyone was like super hyped, and it was the last 40 seconds of the game, so we just like, my coach was like, want to go out again? Like it was really exciting. My parents like called me right when I got off the ice. And
That's beautiful.
They were watching at home.
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Screaming at our house.
Something you'll never forget, for sure.
Really special moment.
As a recent girl dad, actually, just 3.5 weeks ago, I plan to.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She doesn't know this yet. I plan to push her into sports of some sort. Okay. Hopefully golf. We'll see. Maybe figure skating or hockey. I don't know. We'll see. But I'd be curious to know, because there is this hashtag girl dad thing that has kind of been going on. And I know a lot of that was centered around Kobe Bryant and his death, and him really trying to push the women's college basketball game and the WNBA and everything that was going on. For you guys, do you feel, some of that there needs to be a bigger platform that you can use your voices, your talents to be able to push that? Have you gotten any, push back on, being a female athlete and what that means, and maybe not being on the same level to some people as the males? Do you have any thoughts, on that?
I definitely do, especially playing like hockey with boys.
Yeah.
Being girls hockey player, there's obviously girls hockey has taken off a lot recently, but especially growing up, I was the only girl on a boys team for 3 years. And like I dealt with a lot of like just like you know, young kid stuff. All the guys are my friends, but being 12 years old, I mean, that is really intimidating. And I feel that it does give you confidence being in sports. And I mean, how would you?
I would say all girls should have the opportunity to pursue their sport without the stigma of them being looked at not as an athlete, but only as a female. And I think that shouldn't be separated. You should be able to be a female athlete and achieve all that you achieve without having that kind of drawback of, well, oh, you know, like she didn't do as much as this other male athlete did. And so, yeah, especially I've seen with Elanas hockey, she grew up on boys teams, always playing with the boys.
Yeah, and like for me, I mean, this just happened the other week. I'll just rant. Like, I met someone. I was like, hi, whatever. And we started talking. I was like, I play hockey. And he was like, you play hockey? You're lying. Like, you don't look like a hockey player at all. And I've actually gotten that so many times. And it's like, it just frustrates me because I feel that there shouldn't be that stigma against women athletes. And it builds so much character. And it's, I mean, people say, like, why would a woman want to be that muscular or something like that? That would just really upset me because there shouldn't be any of that hate. And there's so much power in playing sports and being on a team and confidence and friendships that come with it. And I would definitely encourage everyone to stick with their sport.
Well, that's well said.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, these young women are going to be great role models for young girls as they're growing up, because, you know, what's great about them is they're great athletes, but they're better people. And we talk a lot about person over player, and it's more important to be a great person. And I think Paige mentioned this weeks ago on our podcast of, you know, being a CrossFit athlete, she wants to be remembered for the kind of person she was, not so much as an athlete, but both, but person over player for sure. So I think one thing I want to close with, both of you guys, you know, future plans. Elena, what are some future plans? I know you got a couple more years of college hockey left, and
yeah, I'm really excited to return to campus and keep playing for Cornell. This year was so amazing playing with all the girls, and our 6 seniors encouraged me so much, and especially, as you were saying, person over player. I think I grew a lot and learned so much from my team and so many life lessons. And I'm really excited to get back on campus, and those girls encouraged me to be the best person I can be. So just continuing my career at Cornell.
Awesome.
Yeah, the next year I actually am going to be taking a gap semester before I go to school at Boston University. And in that gap semester, I'm going to be traveling to 3 different international competitions. And hopefully, if I skate well at those competitions, I can qualify for the World Championships, which will be the qualifiers for the Olympic Games in 2022.
Outstanding. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, just fantastic.
Sorry. I just was going to say, I forgot to mention, I'm also becoming Emmy's manager.
Yes, she is.
Of course.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. But
are you going to negotiate what percentage of potential earnings you're going to get and all that? Come on now. You got to give her a fair rate. It's your sister. I mean, come on.
Family rate.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic. I feel like we could have continued with this for a while. Honestly, we went a little bit longer than we normally do, but this is such good stuff. This is a great conversation. We appreciate it, Doc. I know you obviously appreciate talking to you girls, and we wish you the best of luck. And you know, again, we thank you for joining us here on the Rising Champions podcast.
thank you so much for having us. It was an honor to be able to talk to you guys today.
Yeah.
Great. And I know from, you know, people are going to want to know, how can they follow you on social media? Because they're going to want to keep up with these amazing stories.
So my Instagram is just my name, Emilea Zingas, Emilea Zingas.
And mine's the same, not creative, but it's Elana. Yeah. Just my name.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you guys so much for being on. It's been a very powerful podcast, I think.
Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
it so much.
much.